The forsythia is blooming. Know what that means? That's right. Time to prune the rose bushes. The daffodils are blooming. Time to plant those onion sets. And beets if you haven't gotten them in the ground yet. So most people know, if they're beginning gardening, that they have to pay attention to the frost date in their area, right? You just want to know, when is it finally going to be warm enough for me to get my vegetables in the ground? What a lot of people don't know is that this date can change, right? If you look it up on the internet or wherever you're getting your information, you know that there are always a range of dates. Your frost date can be anywhere from this date to that. The cool thing to know is that nature always knows what's going on before we do. And so there's a cool little thing called phenology. That's Phenology. Phenology is just the study of the signs of nature that tell us what's going on. You might have heard some of this from your grandparents. Like, people have known this for a long, long time, right? And it comes out as really strange sounding things like plant lay potatoes in the dark of the moon in June. When the oak tree leaves are the size of a squirrel's ear, then it's time to plant corn. So good gardening, I would say, especially organic gardening, is really about knowing some of these basic principles and what they really mean, and then applying them to your situation. Now, the reason this works is because wild plants and animals go through this yearly cycle of growth and reproduction and migration that's directly related to the progress of the seasons in a way that maybe the calendar is not. So successful gardening and really enjoyable gardening is in a lot of ways a matter of timing, because garden time is as cyclical as the season. Garden time combines a whole range of different natural cycles, right? There's the annual and daily cycles of light and darkness, summer and winter, day and night, cold and warm. There are cycles of the moon and the planets. There's the population cycles of garden pests and predators, and there's the cycles of our energies too. So while every year in the garden looks a little bit different, the broad outlines, the averages, you might say, keep happening with regularity. And if you know the signs to look for in your particular garden, in your particular neighborhood, we could say, you'll be able to know when to do the next thing, when to plant the next thing, when is it safe to put my tomatoes in. Hint, when the lily of the valley is in flower. If you wait for nature to let you know that it's time, you'll know that you need to wait for the apple trees to bloom before you plant any bush beans. When the apple blossoms fall, then it's safe to plant pole beans and cucumbers. If you or your neighbor have bearded irises in your yard, then you'll know that when they bloom, it's safe to plant eggplant and peppers. You should wait for the lilacs to be in full bloom before you plant any squashes. Those heat-loving melons like cantaloupe, wait until your peonies blossom. If you're in West Michigan, you probably already know that when the forest floor turns green and the lilacs are in bloom, that's the time to go out hunting for morel mushrooms. The gray hyacinths are blooming. That means it's safe to plant cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower. And if you haven't gotten your potatoes in the ground, it's safe to plant those too. I hope that helps. Let me know how else I can help you work with nature and not against it, because you can do more than you think you can.